In May 1977, a seismic political earthquake shook Israel's political landscape. The left-wing Labor Party, which had governed the country for more than 3 decades, was defeated in the elections. The right-wing Likud bloc, led by Menachem Begin, came to power for the first time. This marked the first true transfer of power in Israel since its founding. Despite Begin's traditionally hardline stance on territorial issues, he and most members of his circle understood a crucial point. Without direct, face-to-face negotiations with the Arab states, genuine peace would be impossible. Therefore, immediately after taking office, Begin reaffirmed the previous Labor government's position. Israel would remain committed to pursuing lasting peace in the Middle East and was willing to enter direct talks with the Arab states without any preconditions. Egypt, Israel's most critical adversary. Egypt was the largest country in the Arab world and Israel's primary opponent in every Arab-Israeli war. Begin clearly recognized that, if peace could be achieved with Egypt, the broader Arab threat to Israel would be significantly reduced, and it would also deepen political divisions within the Arab world, benefiting Israel's strategic security. To seek a diplomatic breakthrough with Egypt, Begin invited former Defense Minister Moshe Dayan to join the cabinet as foreign minister. Dayan, born in Mandatory Palestine, knew the Arabs well. His relatively moderate stance on the Sinai Peninsula, supporting the idea of land for peace, made him the ideal figure to approach Egypt. The beginning of secret diplomacy. In August 1977, Begin visited Romania, a country maintaining good relations with both Israel and Egypt, and asked President Nicolae Ceausescu to convey a message to Egyptian President Anwar Sadat. Begin was willing to meet personally to discuss peace. Soon after, Dayan secretly traveled to Morocco to meet King Hassan II, a moderate leader. With the king's mediation, Dayan held clandestine talks in September with Egyptian Deputy Prime Minister Hassan Dahami. The two exchanged initial views, laying the groundwork for a major breakthrough. Sadat, a realist decision. Although President Anwar Sadat of Egypt came from a military background, he was, above all, a pragmatic political realist. He fully understood that Israel's existence was an unchangeable reality. Years of war had exhausted Egypt's economy. The country could no longer bear the enormous cost of military spending and human sacrifice. The 1973 October War, Yom Kippur War, though not a decisive military victory, shattered the myth of Israeli invincibility and earned Sadat a position of equality at the negotiating table. In truth, one of his aims in launching that war had been to wage war, in order to make peace, to gain leverage for future negotiations. Domestically, Sadat was implementing the infida, economic opening, policy and urgently needed a peaceful environment to attract Western investment and rebuild the economy. His core vision was based on UN Security Council Resolution 242, Israeli withdrawal from territories occupied in 1967, recognition of Palestinian national rights, and, on that basis, Egypt would recognize Israel and sign a peace treaty. American pressure and Sadat's final resolve. After Jimmy Carter became U.S. president in 1977, he was determined to break the deadlock in the Middle East. Secretary of State Cyrus Vance visited Israel, Egypt, Syria, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, inviting their leaders to Washington and pushing for direct negotiations. Sadat understood that the true obstacles to peace were mutual suspicion, fear, resentment, and misunderstanding. If no one took the first step to break the ice, the conflict could drag on indefinitely. During this period, Egypt's relationship with the United States grew closer, creating favorable conditions for negotiations with Israel. In October 1977, Sadat visited Romania and learned from Ceausescu that Begin would welcome a visit from him. He then traveled to Iran, where Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi advised him to initiate direct talks as soon as possible. At this point, Sadat finally made up his mind. He would go to Israel in person to seek peace. a world-shaking decision, visiting Jerusalem. On November 9th, Sadat announced to Egypt's People's Assembly that he was prepared to visit Jerusalem to address the Israeli Knesset face-to-face regarding peace and withdrawal. The news caused an uproar across the Arab world. Egypt's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ismail Fahmy resigned immediately. Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and most Arab states strongly opposed the move. Some accused Sadat of being a traitor to the Arab world. In Israel, Begin promptly extended a formal invitation through the U.S. Embassy. A historic moment, Sadat sets foot in Israel. On November 19, 1977, Sadat landed at Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion Airport. Israel held an unprecedentedly grand welcoming ceremony. A red carpet, a 21-gun salute, the national anthems of both countries. President Ephraim Katzer, Begin, Dayan, Ariel Sharon, and other senior officials greeting him. Just weeks earlier, these same leaders had been enemies on the battlefield. Now they stood together at the dawn of a potential peace. Outwardly calm, Sadat was deeply aware of the magnitude of his step. No Arab leader had dared make such a move for decades. Israel deployed around 10,000 security personnel to protect him, highlighting the visit's immense importance. Sadat visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Holocaust Memorial, and held multiple meetings with Begin, a speech that shook the world. On the afternoon of November 20th, Sadat delivered a historic 50-minute speech before the Israeli Knesset. He declared, "Sometimes a nation must forget the past and courageously move toward a new future. I have come here to seek a comprehensive peace." He outlined the essential conditions for peace: ending Israel's military control of territories occupied in 1967, guaranteeing Palestinian national self-determination, ensuring secure and stable borders for all regional states, resolving disputes peacefully, and ending the state of war. When he finished, the chamber erupted in a 40-second ovation. Begin responded that everything is negotiable, but emphasized, a united Jerusalem must remain indivisible. No Palestinian state led by the PLO could be established in the West Bank. The dawn of peace and a split in the Arab world. When Sadat returned to Egypt, millions lined the streets to welcome him home, showing the Egyptian people's strong support for peace. For Israel, the visit was an extraordinary diplomatic triumph. It was the first time an Arab leader had openly recognized Israel's existence and agreed to direct talks. The visit produced two fundamental understandings. Israel and Egypt would no longer use war to resolve disputes. Egypt would eventually regain sovereignty over the Sinai Peninsula. However, the breakthrough created deep fractures within the Arab world. Since the 1967 Six-Day War, the Arab League had upheld the three no's policy: no recognition, no negotiations, and no peace with Israel. Sadat's move shattered that long-standing consensus. As a result, Syria, Libya, and the PLO formed a rejectionist front, calling Sadat a traitor. The Saudi-led moderate camp disagreed with Sadat's unilateral action but did not oppose negotiations, advocating for a unified Arab strategy. From this moment on, the Arab world would never again maintain a single, unified policy toward Israel.